Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, taking another fun and random episode, guys, this evening because just yesterday afternoon, Acediez and RetroTranslator released a new English patch for Goemon, the Grand Cycle of Oedo, and we're testing it today on MiSTer FPGA because every time a new translation like this comes out, the number one question is does it work on MiSTer? The good news is it 100% does, and this has been a game that I've tried to play in the past and has been near indecipherable because it was always in Japanese, a language I do not read, write, or speak. And moving right into this game, it is such a fun time. Goemon has so many incredible games under its belt, and this is one that was always fun to play and kind of poke around with, but because it was all in Japanese and you do need to get some story beats and some hints as to where to go next, it became very difficult to actually enjoy. Now, as of today, it's 100% in English. The translation is excellent. All of the text is there. You can just sit down and play this game like it was a North American release, and that is always something to be celebrated. The best part is the game is also insanely fun and has that Goemon charm that everyone who's played a Goemon game knows, loves, and remembers, so this really is just a win-win. As far as the gameplay elements are concerned, it is a 2D side-scroller, or it's more like a 2.5D side-scroller because you sometimes do go in and out of the screen, but for the most part it's going to play like a traditional 2D side-scroller, and that is going to be a good thing because the 2D Goemon games are always incredible. Now, when I've tried to play this game in the past, I would get to like the first castle town area and I would get 100% stuck because while there is a walkthrough for this game, it seems to be written from the perspective of somebody that knows exactly what to do and where to go, and that doesn't really translate over as well when you're trying to use it. Now, with a full English translation, you're going to be able to actually get by that blockade and really enjoy this game, and that is incredible. It just does really feel like something that would have been out in like 1996, 1997 at your local EB Games or whatever game retailer you went to, and leave me a comment down below and tell me what that was. It was Electronics Boutique and EB Games for us in Vermont, but I know there's a lot of different chains. And I love this gigantic Tanuki comes out at the end, but he is missing one very important feature. If you're not familiar with Tanukis, you might not know what it is, but if you are, you're definitely going to know he's missing a big pair of something or other. You will see here at the beginning of the game, you do get your selection of 4 different characters, and you can change them out in the game as well. There's going to be stages that are going to be easier or harder depending on what character you choose. Kind of has a Super Mario Bros. 2 vibe going on. But the best part is not only is the in-game text in English, but all of the cutscenes are going to be in full English as well, and it's a super fun and charming story. And while you don't need to understand the story to play the 2D side-scrolling levels, getting the English text definitely helps with the game's playability, and honestly, getting some more fun Goemon story just makes the game that much more fun to play. I love these very basic animations. They're just still frames with a moving mouth animated in, and I will say the translation is excellent. It's conversational, translating things over so you understand them, but it doesn't seem to be putting too much of its own vibe in the mix, because sometimes on translations the writers will basically take the lines and pivot them to what they think might be funny or appropriate for the context. Obviously you can't do a full literal translation, that never makes contextual sense, but what has been done here seems to really respect and serve the source material while also imparting a little bit of charm and flair all its own, and that is definitely what I want out of a translation, for it to be conversational and fun without trying to change too much. You also get full English on the overworld map so you know which area you're going to next. And this is a fun game. It's a decently long game, and now it's a game that you can actually better understand. And I love how it looks here on PlayStation 1 and on the PlayStation 1 core on MiSTer FPGA, because pretty much anytime I pick up a PlayStation 1 game to play now, it is going to be on my MiSTer, not on my original hardware. And that's not just because my PlayStation 1 laser is always finicky. I have a PSX as well as a PS2 to play these games, but honestly MiSTer is where I go. And I love testing these sort of fan translations as well because it isn't the original game, so we want to make sure the core is still doing exactly what it should be, and that is a 10 out of 10 here. And because it's a Goemon game, you get an incredible soundtrack. It's some of the best music that I think has ever been put to a game, so go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds or so, and I'll be back with more English to talk about and how it's good. Konami always made great music for their games, but honestly I think some of their best work on consoles has gotta be in the Goemon series. It's just so charming and so unique and definitely fits the visuals and the overall storyline perfectly. But now where the English translation really comes into its own is when you get to the first town. This is where I would always get stuck back in the day because you couldn't read anything. It would all be in Japanese, and there definitely are story elements in here that are going to lead you towards being able to get out of the town because you need to do some side quests, play a few levels within the town, and collect items before you can actually move on. And even with the walkthrough, that is just very difficult. Honestly, given my choice, I'm definitely just going to want to read English and try to go through a walkthrough at the same time. And now today with this translation, that's exactly what you can do. There's so many different houses to visit, so many different areas to go to, and so much different information to glean. This is where I'd always be stuck back in the day because I knew that I needed a pass to get through this gate, but the walkthrough really didn't well explain how I was supposed to do that. So I would wander around, poke into each place, not really be sure what I was supposed to do next, and after like maybe 15-20 minutes, I'd end up giving up and saying I'll come back to it again one day. Well, now that day is today. Well, technically it was yesterday, because now we have the English and we can just understand what's being expected of us. And you'll see here, definitely test every door when you're in town. Some of them will open once you touch them and some of them will not. This game is absolutely rife with secrets. You need to be checking every single corner. There's going to be collectible items, power-ups, money that's going to be very important in the economy in the game, and even some items that will drive the story forward. But that's the great thing about these sort of translations and the people that do them. They bring a new incredible game to people that weren't able to fully enjoy it before. And I love how this character basically just worms his way forward as he crouches. This is just one of those games. I've always wanted to play it. I've definitely tried a bunch of times, but I'd always hit a roadblock that would basically hinder my progress and I would always end up giving up. And if you're the type of person that's going to go down in the comments and say don't be lazy, just learn Japanese, realize not everyone has the time or energy to do that, and some people's brains just are not designed to learn a foreign language. I have been a college professor, I got good grades, but as far as thinking, reading, or understanding different languages, my brain is an F- at it, and a lot of people's is too. So I don't know why people always leave that comment, but I always see it on pretty much every video talking about a translation. Don't be upset because people are having fun with this work. We should be celebrating this. Fans are taking their time to do amazing things. And a reminder, because I forgot, do not jump off heights in this game. It is an insta-death. This is not a platform where you can just basically follow the entire screen, and I always forget that about the game. But it's just so much fun to have this sort of stuff. I love translations, especially for games that I've always wanted to play, and I know this is going to be a very popular one because 4 different people sent me Discord messages and Twitter messages privately yesterday when this came out saying, had I heard the news? That's when I know that this is a coveted game that a lot of people have wanted to play, and you can do that today. And definitely don't sleep on this one. It is so much fun. Even if you're not a huge fan of the Goemon series or you're not a huge fan of 2D platformers, there's so much to enjoy and love here. The game has such a sense of personality, and the language translation has done an excellent job of conveying that personality while keeping the text new and interesting and fresh. And that's all you really want out of a translation. And I love going into all of these houses and hearing these little snippets of conversation that the people have to tell us. Somebody's been abducted by a garbage monster, or at least that's what the ladies heard, and now you're really wondering what that garbage monster is all about. And if you want to grab this game, it's definitely available pretty much everywhere online, but I will leave a link in the description below to the translator's Twitter where you can grab the patch for this game. You will have to patch it yourself. And if you've ever wanted to play this particular Goemon game, but the language barrier was keeping you at bay, the good news is it's no longer the case, and I can't wait to see what the next translation this team brings to us. Short of that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any recommendations for other translated games, leave them down below, but we're done, and go play some Goemon. Bye-bye.